The new Mantis X10 firearms performance system has all the goodness of the original, plus holster draw analysis and recoil analysis. It's a fantastic upgrade and I recommend it highly.
Hey guys, Brian Hill with the Complete Combatant. Here with another dry fire practice series for you from Active Self-Protection Extra. Thanks John and the crew for letting me do this again. It's been great to share these drills with you guys. We're going to use some things to improve your draw today. For the armed citizen, the draw is essential. It is the primary thing that we go from the decision we need to defend ourselves to getting the tool onto the target as quickly as we can. It is also the most fragile of motions in most people's shooting because it's difficult to practice. In shooting, there's a resistance to going fast with a lot of people. They believe that you'll go faster than you can think, that you'll do things that are reckless. There's a recklessness and they want to be careful, and that's a really good thing. But we also need to be decisive, and decisive means a relative speed in our thinking. We have to move quickly. Just imagine you live in bear country and you've decided that your whole life, if you see a bear, you're going to run away. Now, you have a pretty big possibility that you're going to encounter a bear, but you never practice running. All right? In fact, you just walk all the time. Will you be a good sprinter? Do you even know how fast you can run? Can you run with coordination, or will you fall down immediately? So things to think about. That's why we practice speed. Steve Anderson uses 3 categories that came from Lanny Basham's book with Winning in Mind, and that's speed, accuracy, and he calls it match mode. We call it performance mode for the tactical world because you may not be going to a match, but want to train all 3 areas. Accuracy is always first. We'd like to hit the target, but that's where a lot of people stop. As long as they're accurate, they feel like that's enough, but there is a time limit. John's videos show us over and over that there's a time signature. We have a certain amount of time. Drawing the gun to me is an administrative event. All I want to do is get the gun out. So why should I do that slowly? I want to aim well. I want to press the trigger well. But drawing slowly benefits me not at all. As my good friend Lee Weems likes to say, I'm dilly and dallying at that time. You need to get the draw out. It's interesting as an instructor, if I put somebody on a 25-yard shot, suddenly they draw real slow. Like that's going to help their accuracy. Drawing has nothing to do with your accuracy. Once we get on the target, we've got to verify the sights and press the trigger to the rear. That's the only thing you can do. So getting the gun up sooner gives us more time to do the things that are essential to making a good first shot. All right. We're going to use a couple things today. As always, I've got my gun set up for dry fire. Okay. Got dummy rounds in it here. And then, doesn't like to fall down in this gun. Let's see if I do it. There it is. Okay, and there's my disabler, my safety disabler. So nothing can go in the chamber. These are not real bullets. I've got the Mantis X set up on a Picatinny reel on the bottom because we'll use that to really determine how we do our dry fire. I'm going to close the slide, put the magazine back in, and now I'm ready to practice. Okay. First thing I want to do is build better reaction times. It's interesting as an instructor, I see a lot of people on the range who simply don't get ready. It's soon enough. They wait for the buzzer, then they start to get ready, then they prepare the action, and then they go. We know that human beings can react to stimulus, especially if you're pre-prepared to it in a quarter second or under. If you know what's coming and you visualize the process, you can simply react to it much quicker. And so that quarter second is where we want to work on it. Interesting thing with these part-timers is most of the buzzers tend to be about 0.2 or 0.3 or 0.25, somewhere in that. So a beep is a good signal of how quick we are. So I want to be done, I want to be touching the gun before that beep is over with. That's my goal. Now, I'm not the fastest man in the world. It doesn't matter. This is efficiency training. What we're doing is getting rid of everything that doesn't matter. So make your good stance, get your posture ready, and get your hands in a position where you'd be ready to fight. And then I want you to visualize what you're going to do, because that's very clear communication to your brain. If you tell yourself, I'm going to go faster, what does the word fast mean? Some people it means tension, some people it means to be skittery and jumpy. It could mean anything, but visualize what you'd like to see, so therefore when you perform it and you see it, you know that you've done the right thing. I'm often amazed at how few people visualize. Now some of you self-defense people are going to say, well, you don't get a walkthrough before the fight. But we're modeling a process based on active self-protection videos. We know that you need to draw your gun and that you need to fire a first accurate shot, so we can simply model that process. We're going to break it down to its extreme small minutia. We're going to analyze where we're weak and strong, and then we're going to get better, and then we'll put it all back together. Okay? On my worst day, I would think that maybe the worst I would do is double my score. Probably not even close to that. So we'll look and see what my draw scores are, and then see what a doubling of that would be pretty good. We know we need to be under 2 seconds, and for some of you that's going to seem really fast, and it's going to feel reckless. That's why we want to practice safely. All right, I set the par timer up. It's on delay, and my whole goal is to simply touch the gun before the buzzer is over. All right, so I'm going to open up my ears, and I listen, but I also kind of really feel what's coming towards me. I try as soon as I get some contact from the beeper in my ears, my hands should be moving. I don't wait for the buzzer to be over. So I'm going to get everything ready. I'm going to get my posture in a preparatory index, and I'm just waiting to hear that beep, and I'm going to get my hands ready. They're going to be in a position that I'm ready to go. Let's see what that looks like. Okay, so a little slow. I think I was there after the buzzer's done. All right, it's very difficult, but I'm practicing myself to get to the gun quickly. Let's see if I can do a little bit better. Okay, a little fumbly, finger went in, just didn't quite go in. That's good. We're going to have fumbles. We've got to learn to work through those. You just correct your grip and keep going. Don't try to go faster if you fumble. Just finish the technique. Let's do it one more time. Okay, so that was a pretty good grip. Little jerky in the shoulders. I could feel it, so I'm going to get rid of that. All right, so that was very quick, very efficient, and very smooth. I didn't have any extra motions. And that's a good way I can practice the reaction to the buzzer getting my hand on the gun. Now, Mantis systems break it down into 5 categories when you go to draw your gun. And if you have the Mantis 10X with a holster analysis for your draw, fantastic implement. It's one of the few things in the world that I actually listen and hear your dry fire click and measure your complete draw from the beginning to the end. And that's really what we need. This has just been a beautiful thing. It tracks the motion of your draw, and it goes over 5 categories. So the first category they talk about is getting your grip. All right. The next one is the pulling action, pulling it out of the holster. Then the horizontal, how long it takes you to move from here, and then time spent on target, and then pressing the trigger from the moment you start to activate the trigger through the press. So looking at my times over here on the board that you can't see, I have about a 0.25 grip on the Mantis. My pull is 0.15. My horizontal is almost immeasurable because this part's very quick right here. Time on target's about a 1/10 of a second, and the actual shot's about a 1/4 of a second, which gives me about a 0.85 draw. Now, on my best day in competition, I don't have that draw. This is practice draw. This is me going as fast as I can. I find under pressure, I hover somewhere around a 1 second to a 1.2. All right? But if I was to double that draw, I'd be a 1.7. So I'm well within it. Any fumble, anything, I know I can make it. What I'm teaching myself to do is to be comfortable at this speed, to allow myself to process at this speed. If you always go slow, you get used to being slow. That's how it is. So you've got to go a little faster and learn what your limits are when you get fumbling. So I've done a couple of scores here so you guys can see. I don't know how well that shows up. All right, there's some stuff. Okay, I'm going to read them out to you in case you didn't get it. So my grip tends to be 0.25. That's the green bar at the bottom. My pull tends to be about 0.15, which is the time it takes me to go from the holster to turn to the horizontal. My horizontal, 0.2. My time on the target, no time on the target because I come right there and I begin to prep. I've already begun to work the trigger as I come to the target because I've made the decision to shoot. We go back to our safety rules. My sights are on the target, then my finger goes to the trigger and I begin to shoot. So that's about a 0.25 or 2.4, something like that. All right, which gives me times of 0.88, 0.88, 0.83, 88, 0.92, 0.91. I'm like a human metronome. Like a lot of structured people who really value structure in their practice, what I end up doing is always being very consistent. What that makes it really hard for me to do is to make big jumps because I have to let go. If you're an accuracy first shooter and you always want to be perfect, you must learn to let go. You can't hold that structure always. It's much easier to take a really fast person and teach them to be a little more accurate sometimes because they just want to go, and all we have to do is teach them a bit of visual patience. But really structured people are very hard to change because they believe what they believe. I'm going to tell you, as a man who's been around a while and does a lot of training, I'd be very cautious of having absolute beliefs in your training because things will change over time. You may learn to appreciate something you didn't before. You may even change the way you do things. I've gone through multiple grips on my guns. the way I change my hands. I really changed my thought about a lot of training. So I want to be open to that, and I try not to let my structure hold me. The good thing is when I go to compete or perform, I consistently perform at the same score. All the time, it's always the time, but it's hard for me to improve. So I've got to really work on this speed part. It's the least favorite part of my practice. Okay, so I'm going to do a couple of these on the timer so that you can see. Plenty of time. It'll notice when I holster again.
Standby.
Give me the standby. Focus on your breathing. Visualize what you want to happen.
Standby.
Now there was a little fumble, and that's a great moment. That's a great moment of failure. So I'm going to stop right there. It's a great moment because I'm going to fumble from time to time. My fingernail caught the edge of my belt. Okay, so I need to know what that cost me. So my first draw was a .97, my second was a .93, and my third one was a .87. But that fumble was a 1.12. So what did it cost me? Not a whole lot. Quarter of a second. This number keeps coming up over and over, and force science really emphasizes this number because human reactions tend to be there. So even if I have a fumbly draw, I still had a 1.1 second draw. Just in case, I know naysayers and doubters think it can't be done sometimes. Every one of you can do this though. Simply practice your reaction time. The biggest gain is usually on getting to the gun for most people. All right. When you look at my fumble, the pull was what I fumbled, so that was almost double my score. That's where the time, but everything else stayed the same because I didn't let that mistake or malfunction or whatever it is happen to me. If you're a really good shooter, you shoot 90% and above in all things. Qualifications, matches, whatever, you shoot about a 90%. That means 9 out of 10 times you do everything correctly. So there's one time you're not going to do it. We need to learn to work through those mistakes. If you're a lower level shooter, you may be 70%. So that means you're going to make 3 out of 10 times mistakes that you didn't need to do. Let's eliminate those. Let's practice our speed and get really efficient. And then look, here's a really slow draw to me. Okay, definitely under a second and a half. Sometimes in class I try to do 2-second draws, which is really hard for me to do. 1001, 1002. So you can practice like this. You'll need a timer. Download a par timer. Get the Mantis. The Mantis is fantastic for this. Get the little Picatinny rail set up, and you'll really be able to improve your draw. I look forward to your comments. Remember, tag me if you want me to answer you directly. Since I don't monitor the site, just let me know. I'm glad to help you in any way that we can. I'm Brian Hill with the Complete Combatant. You can find us on all the social medias also. And I look forward to seeing you guys on the range. Thank you so much.